Oh, liberty lovers, wherever you are in the country, you do not want to miss this. If you're wondering how on earth does my state government or the federal government continue to grow and grow and grow even when Republicans have the governing majority? Well, you do not want to miss this. We're going to talk about how exactly in this one scenario where the lesson can be applied broadly, how RINOs in these state capitals all across the country collaborate with Democrats to kill legislation that actually reduces the size and scope of government. Today we're talking about Louisiana House Bill 713. I was in Baton Rouge just last week. I attended the Transportation Committee meeting to watch Representative Danny McCormick, this great liberty legislator, present his bill to the body, thinking, well, it's a super majority Republican committee. This is a surgical bill. It's going to cut $150,000 a year in spending. Surely the Republicans on this committee will advance this bill through. And I'll give you this right here. Watch Danny McCormick. He's going to give you a breakdown of the bill right now.
Based on the most recent audit reports by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor, the compensation for the Caddo-Bossier Port Commission is $477,184. While the average total compensation for the top 10 port commissions, excluding the Caddo-Bossier Parish Port Commissions, is approximately $324,448. Based on the average executive port director salary may decrease approximately by $152,736 starting in the fiscal year 2028.
So you heard Danny. This port commissioner is making over $470,000 a year, $152,000 more dollars every year than the average of the top 10 paid port commissioners or port directors in the entire state. That's like 47% higher, even though this particular port only moves like less than one ship a day through its port. So if you're like me, you're thinking, well, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. This is a tiny cut in the grand scheme of things in a state with billions upon billions of dollars in its state budget. Surely these Republicans on this committee are going to advance this bill through. It should pass essentially unanimously. Like everybody should be voting for this bill. And surely there are safeguards in place, right? There must be safeguards. There must be some accountability. But here's Danny talking about the lack of accountability.
There's one thing that's real disturbing in the legislation that created the port. It said that the port, it shall not be subject to any respect, authority, control, or supervision of any local regulatory body or political subdivision. That's a very troubling statement. I do not know how it got in there, but it is. And so the only recourse is holding the port accountable.
Well, there you go. No accountability. Nobody oversees this stuff. So what is Representative McCormick trying to do? Bring some accountability. A very common theme we hear from many Republicans running for state office, running for federal offices. Let's have a little accountability here. Let's actually reduce government by $150,000 a year. Makes sense. Surely the Republicans will be on board, right? Probably the Democrats, probably not going to be on board. Let's watch this clip of Democrat Representative Walters and what she has to say.
Who asked for this bill? Did somebody call you and tell you that the executive director is just making too much and that the people of Caddo, the people of Bossier are just outraged because the port director is making entirely too much?
This is a pre-session survey that I ran. And it doesn't have to specifically to do with the salary, but everybody, not even that I mentioned this to, is astounded by the salary he's making. But this is a pre-session survey I ran. Do you support or oppose legislation to allow the Caddo-Bossier Port Commission to administer a program in which businesses associated with the port pay less property taxes than other businesses? And 94% of the respondents oppose that. So the people of Caddo Parish are concerned about the what's happening at the port, yes.
So Walters goes, who told you about this? Who's the snitch? Is essentially what she's saying. I want to know why you'd introduce such a bill like this. Why would you actually want to reduce government by $150,000 a year? And Danny goes, Well, I've talked to my constituents. I had a poll out there, and like 90% of my constituents, they want to clamp down on what's happening at this port. Makes a ton of sense. I see nothing controversial with this bill whatsoever. So again, I'm still thinking as I'm sitting there, Republicans are going to back this bill. They have to back this bill. There is no good reason they wouldn't back this bill. So let's listen to conservative Representative Brian Fontenot. Brian Fontenot, the guy who fought us every step of the way when we were fighting to pass constitutional carry in Louisiana. Surely he prides himself as a fiscal conservative. But let's listen to what Representative Fontenot had to say.
Now, Mr. McCormick, you've been in business a long time and hugely successful man in the oil and gas industry.
I don't know about hugely, but I have made a living.
I think the record shows you've been hugely successful. So I want you to tell us, when you bring in someone to run your company, you talk about paying him the best pay, or you talk about you're going to go figure out what the average pay is and you're going to offer him just the average pay to entice him to come run your company?
Well, now I'm starting to get worried. Yeah, Fontenot out there saying, wait a minute, Mr. Representative McCormick, you're a business owner? Surely you want to pay the best talent to take over your company. Well, you're talking a private industry versus government, taxpayer dollars. And in my mind, I used to own a small business. Am I going to pay someone 47% over market value? Hell no, I'm not going to. Do we have to pay them competitively? Absolutely, if you want to attract talent. You're not going to pay someone 47% over market value or $150,000 more a year than you have to pay, especially when it comes to taxpayer funds. But now Representative Fontenot is starting to show his true colors. He's no fiscal conservative. He's secretly and politely starting to kill this bill. But surely that's an exception, right? Maybe he's the only Republican in the Transportation Committee, who he is vice chair, by the way. Maybe he's the only one. Let's listen to another Republican, Representative Broussard.
Do you know how many's on that board that determines his pay?
I think there's 9.
Okay, is any of them here in either opposition or supporting your bill?
I'd have no idea.
Representative Broussard starts asking this ridiculous question. Well, is anybody on the committee who sets this person's pay, are they here to testify on behalf of your bill? As if the people who set this ridiculous salary of nearly $500,000 a year were going to show up and essentially say, yeah, we really screwed up. We really shouldn't have been paying this guy this much money. Absurd. Of course they're not going to show up and testify for this bill. They're the ones setting the pay. They don't want to be caught in the crosshairs. They don't want to be caught up in this thing whatsoever. So now I'm getting concerned. Broussard doesn't seem to be supporting this thing. And this is really important because this was captured. This was not on camera. I looked, it wasn't captured on camera, but I'm in the committee room and I watched the vice chair, Representative Brian Fontenot, who took over the chair's position, if you hadn't noticed, and he waves over Representative Walters, one of the few Democrats on this committee. He waves her over, and she comes over, and he kind of whispers something to Representative Walters. Now, I don't know what was said. I don't know, but I have a theory, because clearly Representative Fontenot wanted to kill this bill. But who is he going to have do his dirty work for him? Is he going to ask a fellow Republican who has to campaign as a fiscal conservative? Is he going to make the motion himself to involuntarily withdraw Representative McCormick's bill? Which involuntarily withdraw is a very polite way of saying kill his bill. So my speculation is that he waved Representative Walters over and whispered to her, make a motion to involuntarily withdraw this bill. Now I'm speculating. I don't know if that's what was said, but I've got another clip that I think reinforces my theory. So let's watch how this thing unfolds. And this is a little bit of a longer clip, but I think it's really important. I wanted you to know how everybody voted, and watch how Representative Walters is so confused by the motion that she supposedly made. Well, I'm speculating the vice chair who took the gavel Representative Brian Fontenot, I'm convinced he planted the seed to say, let's make the Democrat do our dirty work. We RINOs, we will collaborate with this Democrat and get her to do our dirty work so our hands remain clean. Let's see what happens here.
All right, members, we had a motion to move favorably by Representative Schermerhorn. We have a substitute motion by Representative Walters to involuntarily defer the bill. We will vote on Representative Walters' motion per procedure, just for ensuring that you understand how this vote will be. A vote yes will be to involuntarily defer HB 713. A vote no will to continue the debate and move on to Representative Schermerhorn. All right, and we got an opposition by Representative Schermerhorn. All right, let me go over one more time. We're going to vote on Representative Walters' substitute motion. A vote. No, only the author can voluntarily defer his bill. And so on this committee, it's an involuntarily defer because the motion is made from the committee. So it is a motion to involuntarily defer the bill by Representative Walters with an objection for Schermerhorn. A yes will be to involuntarily defer. A no vote will move on to Representative Schermerhorn's vote. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
I'm confused. Can you give the yes and a no like one more time?
Yes, we are voting on your motion to involuntarily defer. A vote yes will move to involuntarily defer. A vote no would be not to involuntarily defer.
Yes. Thank
Ready?
you.
All right. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Vice Chair Fontenot?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Boudreaux? Representative Boyer?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Broad?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Broussard? Yes. Representative Chazon? Yes. Representative Dickerson? Representative Henry?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Martinez? Representative Moore? Yes. Representative Murray?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Phelps? Representative Sawyer?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Schermerhorn?
No.
No. Representative Spell?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Walters?
Yes.
Yes. And Representative Wiley?
Yes.
All right, 12 yes, 1 no. That motion and the bill is involuntarily deferred.
You notice towards the, about halfway through that clip, Representative Walters is like, wait, what's happening right now? How does this vote work? I'm confused, she says. Man, I wonder why she's so confused about a motion that she made. Maybe it wasn't her idea to make this motion. That's my conclusion. And again, I'm speculating. I don't know what was said, but how is she so confused by this motion that she's supposedly the motion maker? Now we're going to fast forward a little bit in this committee. HB 713's already been killed, but Danny McCormick has a companion bill. And you'll watch the same play unfold. I'll spare you. I can tell you it was the same vote, 12-1. But watch how this unfolds. And what I really want you to pay attention to is the words that come out of Representative Fontenot's mouth. How he showers Representative McCormick with praise, saying how, you know, out of everybody here, all the elected officials that are elected to represent their constituents, how out of everybody here, you're actually the guy who listens to his constituents. Watch this.
I want to ask that we involuntarily defer this bill.
All right, Representative McCormick, would you prefer to vote? Would you like to offer to voluntarily defer your bill, or would you like to vote?
I'd like to vote. I want my people to know I come down here and represented them.
Well, I would certainly attest for that, Representative McCormick. Of all people here, I think you absolutely fight for your people. So I appreciate what you do here, sir.
Thank you.
So you see it, you watch, there's no disputing it. This is the evidence. This is Representative Fontenot, the guy who was against constitutional carry the whole time, had to put a ton of pressure on him to actually vote pro-gun. In this committee room, it seems he has feeling no pressure. He feels totally empowered to go ahead and pay bureaucrats $500,000 a year, even though it's 47% higher than their peers. No problem with that. while these people campaign on, I'm going to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Sounds like there's quite a bit of waste in there. I don't know about fraud. It's definitely abusive, but yet they're going to protect this bureaucrat and his $500,000 a year paycheck. To me, it's the perfect example. While yes, the issue in the bill, very minor in nature, but it's a perfect example of how pseudo-Republicans, pseudo-conservatives, RINOs, let's just call them what they are, collaborate with Democrats. And they're polite to their fellow Republican colleagues. Oh, polite, showering them with praise. You listen to your constituents. You're so great. You're such a successful business owner. But yet, when it comes time to actually reduce government, they collaborate with Democrats. They kill pro-liberty legislation. They kill anything that actually is going to reduce government. And it's disgusting. I hope you are just as disgusted by this as me. There's no way that in 2027, when Representative Brian Fontenot is running for re-election, because God knows he will, if he's not for this seat, it'll be for higher office, there's no way he's going to campaign on a message of, vote for me, I want to pay bureaucrats $500,000 a year. Not going to happen. But yet that's what they do inside the Capitol. So if you're sitting there going, I'm infuriated, I don't know what to do, especially if you're in Louisiana, especially if you're in Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is the home district of Representative Fontenot, here's what you can do. Call him. Call his office. I've got the number right here. It's 985-447-0999. That is Representative Fontenot's phone number. Call him up and ask him to start actually being the fiscal conservative and the pro-liberty guy that I guarantee all of his campaign messaging says he is. And I'll give it to you again. 985-447-0999. Call Representative Fontenot. Give him an earful. A little opportunity to cut government $150,000 a year. It's not a big number. It's not a big ask. But he doesn't have the courage to do it. Give him a call. Give him an earful. And also, remember, as I always try to end these, if you want to be politically respected, you must be politically feared.